Oh, okay. Jeannie?
When I hear the word animate, remember I live by the mouse. Yeah. So when I see animate, I just think of cartoons. And what does a cartoon do? It animates, so it's just my...
Joanne?
I think be open to the spirit and less self-centered.
Thank you. Diane and then Wayne.
Nourish relationships and lead people in a peaceful way.
Bringing food for the journey and an example. Wayne.
Build a fire and show them how to use the energy.
Oh, nice.
Make sure there are no smoke detectors around. Okay. Linda.
Animate, guide, in relation to the Holy Spirit, means to empower and enable.
Two words that we heard yesterday was delegate and mentor.
Mike and then Ellen.
So a servant leader, also the focus is not on themselves, it's on the other. It's how do I serve you to help you live the rule, to help you be the best Franciscan you can be. How it's that the attitude is not of you listening to me and me being in charge. It's helping them to do it. How do I best make that happen?
Ellen.
Listen and love.
Thank you. Okay, we're done. Good job. There's nothing else to say. Jeff.
I have to admit I had to pull out my cell phone just to get the literal definition of animate. It's to give life to. So to give life to and guide, for me, to Jesus Christ, guiding through the example that Francis gave us in our rule of life.
Thank you. And often it is good to go back to the root, the definition. And I think the words are chosen for a reason. And we all have a different perspective. And I think that that's valuable for us as a body to be able to be effective in living out this call. When I first looked at this, I think to myself, I can't draw, kind of like what Jeannie was saying, but I do know how to use a compass. So sometimes as leaders, we are going to be stretched as we try and learn more skill in one or other part of our role. But never give up, as we are called to cooperate. And so, thank you for sharing that, and we'll be able to reflect on those suggestions, sharing along the way. In 2022, we adopted priorities for the 3-year term. VCR, I got that from Teresa Redder. Vocations, communications, and relationships. We're going to review how well we were doing as an order, again, according to these 3 aspects. Focus on vocations.
Oh, it's out again.
It's out again. So I used this chart kind of last year, and I know it's not exactly... One of these is going to work. Two-fisted drinker? No, I'm not. But that's so funny. I don't know which one's working. I'm just kidding. I hope this one's the one. Okay. That's some more Franciscan joy. The numbers. We have a new, we have our new database, right? We've had it, it's been in effect about 1.5 years now. And it certainly has helped us be able to look at some numbers. What's happening on the order nationwide, I think, is helping us. Because those databases are only as good as the information that's put into them. So you all have a role in assisting us to make sure that we have good data. So we look at this, understanding, it gives us general trends. So our trend has been that our membership has gone down. professed members. However, so then I keep thinking, so are we growing or are we shrinking? So I looked at some data, comparing data from the end of 2022 through middle of 2020, July of 2024. You get about a year and a half difference. So in comparing what's happening in each region, according to what's in the database, 25 regions have decreased their membership. One region has had a 7-member decrease. So the percentage-wise, it's about a 2% decrease to a 1% decrease. But 5 regions increased their membership, and one region had a 34-member increase. So that's about a 7% increase. However, each region has persons in initial formation. So and those, I think, help to offset the numbers that were adjusted between the years. So each region, in terms of the candidates, aspirants, and seekers, one region had 6, and another region had as many as 90 people in formation. Again, a 5 to a 24% increase in these regional size. You're not getting graded on all this, and I just bring it up so that we observe what's happening. So then I looked at regional fraternities, the membership, just so we can see how many kind of large fraternities do we have and how many small regional fraternities do we have. And it's about 50-50. When you look at 300 members as a kind of a cutoff, we have 15 regions that have less than 300 members and 15 regions that have more than 300 members. And of course that can change any year, so it's not hard and fast, but I thought that was really interesting because 300 members, I mean, that's a large fraternity. I mean, that's a large size of people. That's a lot of people to be able to know. And I'm not even talking geographic, so geographic distances is another area to evaluate. Also thought about fraternities. How are we doing with the fraternities? And again, the number of fraternities maybe isn't such a great statistic, but learning how many of our fraternities are dying or deactivated, and how many are being formed. So last year in 2023 in our report, we said there were 13 fraternities deactivated across the US, and comparing that, there were 22 active emerging communities and newly forming groups. So I think that offsets, again, the number that were deactivated. This is the map showing which regions have the emerging communities or newly. So it's about half of our regions have these new groups forming. And I'm not worried about the other ones that don't. Okay, so if you're in a region that does not have a newly forming group or an emerging community, this is not to be. The point is that we help do as servant leaders to make that a priority, to ensure we have strong fraternity in the long run. That's the priority. But I thought it was interesting to see where the newly forming groups are. In terms of vocations, sometimes we look at our website and what about the activity happening there. So in July, this was a trend of the hits that we get from the website. So we have, the red line is page reviews, how many came to the website. This next line is unique visits. The blue line, I guess it's kind of green, it's probably hard to see the colors, is first time visits, and then the bottom line is returning visits. So is there anything that you notice about this trend?
What happened in July 19 to 21?
What happened July 19th through 21? Anybody know?
I do.
Well, Susan does know, but I'm not going to let her answer this question. Does anyone else know? Kim?
Eucharistic Congress?
The Eucharistic Congress. We had a booth at the Eucharistic Congress, and Susan and other people from Our Lady of Indiana region, thank you, Cindy Pilot, for your wonderful sisters and brothers there that helped us man the booth or people the booth. So Susan will talk about that a little bit later. But so these activities do help us to, I mean, hits on the website don't mean new vocations automatically, but it's the beginning of getting the word out and getting some promoting vocations. Yes, Teresa.
Question, just a quick one. When we were together last year, we didn't have the Congress in our budget, and we voted to be a presence there. What was the support like nationally from regional and local fraternities to help get money to go there?
Teresa, I'm going to ask if we could answer your question on Friday when Susan is going to give a better report.
Because I know our fraternities would like to hear that, your feedback.
Yes, she did, and we did get, many people did give donations to support it, so, in the short answer. So thank you for the question, and we will give you more specifics on Friday. Yep, and there it is, the Eucharistic Congress. Good job, Kim. And I showed this chart last year as well, but I think many of you weren't at the last chapter and you may not have seen the presentation on the website. This is based on data from 2021 or around there, but what was reported to us at the general chapter in 2021. So this year we have Mary Frances and Diane and Lena will be attending the chapter in Rome, so they'll be giving us new numbers from our national fraternities. But in 2021, we were the 6th largest national fraternity by membership. And I think that's still an interesting statistic. So I'd like to transition to our communications theme. We've been working a lot on communications this year. I mean, I think we all do every day, but in terms of specific kind of elevated efforts, we had a lot accomplished this year. Our website keeps getting improved, the look and information about how to find the information on there. How many of you check out the website? Oh, good. Do you look at it quarterly? Monthly? Weekly? Weekly. Okay, good. That's awesome. So, have you noticed that it looked different?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks, Sharon, and Jim, and Miriam, and Carolyn Seal, and Terry Leone, and Michael Gath. Okay, I think I got everybody there. They're in the photo directory, but they put in tiles so that those link you to the pages so you can, maybe more easily find the information. There's a really nice presentation. Jim Thomas is from Blessed Solanus Casey region. He's done a great job. So I also want to say that it would be really helpful for the regional ministers, since you're looking at it so often, make sure that your data is on here. We have it under the Contact Us page and the regional contact and maps. So that'll have a contact person. It doesn't have to be the regional minister. Anybody you feel is the right one to receive calls about vocations, direct them to the right fraternity. Because sometimes you may know your fraternities well, and you may want to say, you want to go try this fraternity instead of this fraternity, something like that. And then also the website. Sometimes your websites have been changed or you've updated the addresses, so please let us know. If you do have changes, you can use the email that's on the website address, and they will respond very quickly. We also have a new section for printable materials, and we'll be adding printable materials as we go along. And then also the Gospel to Life bookstore. Has anyone seen this page? Oh, yeah. Yeah? Has anyone ordered from the Gospel to Life bookstore? Yeah. Yes. So you know who's the wizard behind that is. Claudia. Thank you, Claudia, for taking on this ministry. We'll be talking about that later this week as well. We revamped the Tau USA, and we have a new editor. Thank you, Carolyn Yandel, and a new designer, Stan Sisson, who is from this region, so St. Thomas More region again is helping. And last year we voted to just print, so we have money in the budget to print just one copy and send it to our members. That copy will be the one for this after chapter, so it'll probably go out in October or early November. And then next year we will be planning to issue four issues, and then we'll talk further about whether we still want to continue the one print version or if we want to make other accommodations for next year. So there was one version that was emailed to you all in July, this one. How many of you read it? Good. Okay, that's awesome. Good. How many of you didn't? No, just kidding. We don't want to know. If you skimmed it, that counts too. So. The Communication Summit, that has been in our budget for a couple of years. We decided to do it virtually. So we had it, and we met virtually 3 times. And the first 2 meetings were a kind of more intensive discussions about organizations and what priorities would be. The last one in February was to talk about translations. Our communications committee is made up now of the chairs of our website, the database, the Tell USA editor, our 1-800-FRANCIS coordinator, translation, the kind of the leaders of the different groups, our multicultural coordinator, our social media contact. We really don't have a name for the person helping us with the Facebook page. Her name is Barbara Scott from Divine Mercy region, but we don't have a title for her yet, especially. And then accessibility. So thank you, Susan and Jan Benton, for serving in this way. The outcome from this effort was we are going to be developing and enhancing the protocols, procedures for consistency in communications representing the OFS USA. These guidelines, protocols, procedures will be available, and people can use them. If you want to adapt them to the regional and local levels, that's definitely there. But we're going to focus on consistency for the national level. We are going to be establishing guidelines for social media, and that'll certainly be shared with everyone. And then confirming the translations process. We had a policy to try and translate all of our documents into English, when we have it in English, and translating into Spanish and Korean and rolling them out at the same time. That for certain types of documents that works well, but we'll talk more about some of the other ones a little bit later in this presentation. I like maps and charts and stuff like that. So this is showing us the regions that have fraternities that are prefer to speak in a language other than English. So we have 16 regional fraternities that have these fraternities, and there are 47 total fraternities right now where their primary language is other than English. And that includes American Sign Language, Portuguese, Polish, Vietnamese, but the bulk of them is Spanish or Korean of the non-English speaking groups. Another thing that came out from the Communication Summit is bulk emails. We are now able through the database, but really through another online, I don't remember the name of it, but one of the portals that we can use, we can send emails to everyone that we have an email address for in our database when the emails are correct. So we sent one out in July, and that we got some return, but the database committee was working on getting those corrected. And I think they sent out the information to you, RMs, so that you can make sure that they're corrected. So that was exciting, and that's good. One other beautiful thing about the summit was people got connected. So some issues with some of the Facebook posts, based on some suggestions from the accessibility committee, we now have posts that are better framed so that they are for people with either visual impairment or hearing impairment. They're able to see the posts better. So I think that was awesome, like a simple thing, but we got people together and they were sharing ideas. And we also did post the translation of the transfer document. So more documents posted in those other languages will be on the website. We continue to have the commission workshops, and committees are offering things virtually. One thing for some of our new RMs, 2 terms ago, we started with meet and greets with our new executive council members, because we don't always get to meet the executive council members each year, so we want to schedule that soon after the election. I mean, sometimes it can be 6 months later. It just depends on when people get together. So that's a really neat tool that we continue to help with our communications. And then this chapter will be focusing also on many of the guidelines we're trying to get finalized so that we can update them and put them on the website. So as servant leaders, spending time building relationships is naturally important. So again, last year, or since last chapter, we've held 3 virtual calls with our the NAFRA Council. So feedback from our regional ministers that participated in the past. Do you think those are effective ways for us to get together? We try to do on a quarterly basis. Yes? So we will continue then to plan those, and we'll pick, sometimes we picked Friday nights, which I know wasn't always the best night for some people, but we'll try and schedule it and get those scheduled ahead of time so you have that in your calendar. We can talk about dates while we're here, at least for the next one. We also continue to conduct the visitations and elections. So we did 6 last year, and elections were 8. So we have many new or re-elected members, which is wonderful. We do have 3 more elections later this year. So we may not be seeing some of you next year because I think some are 2 terms. So let's get to know each other now and the wisdom, because some of us may not be ministers next year. But the database does show on the regional level that there are some fraternities that are more than 3 years past due for elections and visitations. So as regional ministers, please work with your councils to make sure that the database is up to date. I'm hoping the database is wrong, but if the database is right, that you schedule those visitations and elections, because that's a critical part of our relationship building, is being out there to conduct effective visitations. And I know tonight the council groups will get together to talk about the best practices for visitations and elections. So, and then UFRA. The youth of today are bombarded. I mean, we're all bombarded with so much stuff, right? So much crap. But we can be that joy to people and offer people. I mean, if we didn't believe this, we wouldn't be here, right? So now that we believe this and we know we believe it, let's show other people that we do believe it, and that there is it's a blessing to know about the gospel, to know about Jesus' teaching, to see how Francis was able to bring it to life in the world. And so we are called to share it. And I think with the youth, it's a natural way for us to get them attracted to it. And also we can learn from them, and that'll help out. I know that'll help our order as well. We continue our relationships on the international level, where, as I mentioned earlier, Diane and Mary Frances and Lena will be attending the chapter in Rome. Diane continues to serve in a really profound way with the International Formation Secretariat. She's helping quite a bit, and I know Mary Stronach and others, and Diane. Mary, of course, is still serving as our General Vice Minister, but they also help with translations on the national level. So we are involved on many levels and internationally. And then next weekend, at this same site, the Korean brothers and sisters from the North and South America are holding a Congress. About 200 people are going to be there. And so Julianne and I will be participating in that on Saturday. And that'll be the first time that I'll be immersed in with our brothers and sisters. They came to the queue, and I was able to meet many of them then. But and I haven't lived in a fraternity in a region that has a fraternity that with the Korean-speaking members. So this will be a delight for me. And I've been practicing how to say good morning and hello in Korean. So we're all going to get a lesson a little bit later this week on how to say it. Not that I pronounce it correctly, but we're trying. We're going to try. What else have we been doing besides getting together on Zoom and usually monthly? Well, there have been a few issues. Sometimes more than a few. And some of the issues, 4 of our regions recommended dismissal of a member. So we've been working on that. And we've been learning that provisions of it, we're trying to animate and guide us on those provisions of our legislative documents. So we'll be talking a little bit about that later. There were some councils in conflict, and we've been trying to elevate our support for them. And then we have simple guidance on how to, since people love virtual participation, right? Have you found that in your region? People love this convenience. But we know today, this week, how valuable it is to be together and how important it is and how necessary it is. So we came up with the guideline on how to clarify what can only be done in person and then where virtual participation is feasible. And then we also have simple things like records retention. What do you need to keep and for how long? We did get something published. Woohoo! The rituals updated. And that was from the effort, I know labor of love is used often, but this was a labor of love of many people, but Claudia, Miriam, and the friars have really did the lion's share of work on this in the recent history. We finally got it out in August 2024. There's a new look, larger font size. This is one thing we issued only in English. The challenge to translate this into Spanish or Korean is huge because of the sources and the scripture quotes, etc. I mean, the simple rites and ceremonies aren't difficult, but it's the other information in it. So we are not planning on doing translations into Spanish or Korean at this time. However, we will translate key rites and ceremonies and have those available on the website. And then we're also planning to have the fillable booklets for the rite of admission and profession that people can use. You can just insert the names and then you can print it as a booklet. So, Elizabeth.
There's slight translation differences between the old ritual and the new ritual. So if you're going to use the ritual, and some people have the old one, and some people have the new one, it's going to be a little challenging, just FYI.
And so for those that couldn't hear Elizabeth, so there are slight differences in the old ritual and the new ritual, but they're similar enough. So I think if you're in, like for the ceremony of welcoming or something, I don't think people are going to have difficulty following along. So, and we are not going to mandate switching.
Yeah.
So you just...
I want you to know, because we had that in our last gathering, it's like, that's not what this one says. That was, so, it's just something that stirs stuff up a little bit, just FYI.
Diane.
Just so everybody understands, the words of the rights absolutely are the same. So none of that, the words of the rights are absolutely the same. None of that has changed. It's some of the formatting as far as where certain instructions come in to make it a little easier to understand. We tried, and I say we very loosely, those who worked on this much harder than I, worked from the Cheops document, the ritual. We wanted to bring it in line with what is in the international ritual. So there's where you'll see certain differences. But it's the same in the rites and ceremonies. You don't have to worry about that. Once these little templates come out, you're going to have, everybody can have the same booklet. So they'll have the ritual to look at home, but you'll actually use these templates for when you're doing something publicly.
Diane,
Yep.
the 2020 translation of Cheops too made some changes.
The
The rights are a little bit different in wording because the Cheops did change the English translation.
Might as well say it so everyone can hear you.
Just a small correction to what Diane said. There are some changes in the rites and ceremonies because Cheops promulgated a new English translation in somewhere around 2020, and so we wanted to follow that. But if it was something that was not changed in the Cheops version, then we did not change it. It would match 1985. So anything that isn't in the Cheops version of the ritual, any of the American editions, are all the same as they were in 1985, or at least that was our intent, modulo any typos or whatever.
Thank you. So as you use the new version of the ritual, if you see things where there are errors or you think there are errors, send the summaries to Claudia. Were you the one? Claudia will take those comments, and then once we compile, there should be none, but I'm sure there will be something. But once we compile it, we'll come up with an addendum, a errata sheet or something in the future. Mike, did you still have your comment?
Yeah. So what's the relationship between the online PDF version and the print version? Are they the same except for formatting and the niceties?
I'm going to let, and then we can go into more detail a little bit.
Exactly what he's asking.
Okay.
So the PDF that's online is the 2020 Cheops English translation, and so we used that as kind of like to overwrite anything from the 1985 version, so that we would match the current Cheops translation, because that's digital and it's available and it's most recently promulgated. Yeah.
Okay. Enough on the ritual. We'll talk more about it a little bit later this week or during any of the breaks. But it's out. We're going to have some nice features for everyone, and we're not mandating using it right now. It is available. We actually almost sold out of the first 2,200 copies already, so we're going to be reprinting it soon. And the National Formation Commission is going to be pilot testing the first book for initial formation, and we have some other initial formation documents that are being piloted now as well. So we are making progress on the initial formation books.
How are you piloting it?
The people that, yeah, Lena will explain it on tomorrow or this afternoon. So what's on the agenda for the future? We are preparing for the 2026 Q, less than 2 years. There will be we've been putting some stuff in the newsletter, but also and on the website. But also we're going to be talking about the 2026 Q budget this week. We're going to be presenting that to you. The council needs to be to vote on it for us. It's not just the NEC for that. You get to vote on it too. We're providing additional servant leadership workshops, all to get us ready for next year's chapter of election, which is in September, a year from now, a little bit less than a year from now. So I want to emphasize that preparation for the 2025 chapter doesn't happen. Planning a year ahead, actually more than a year ahead, was necessary, not only to get the location, but looking at Article 11. Now that we have the location and the date of the election is September 13th, 2025. Per Article 11, we need to get the slate of candidates out no later than 2 months ahead, so July 13th, 2025. we have to have the nominations committee in place no later than 4 months ahead of time, which is May 13th, 2025. So we ask you to give us potential names of people to serve on the nominations committee. I would appreciate names if you have anybody by November 1st. I think we typically like to get this laid out much earlier than 4 months. And we had to notify CHIOFs already. We notified them in June, and they did confirm that they will be providing a presider and then an ecclesial witness for it. We also are working on our audit of the financials. So lately, I've been noticing that some of the regions weren't aware that you had to prepare a financial review of your financials at the time of election, before that. Okay, I have to be honest, I was kind of surprised, because that's one aspect that you need to know at the local fraternity also. So if you're conducting visitations and elections on the local level, then you've asked them for visitation, for financial reviews. It's maybe a little different because the local budget may not be as extensive as regional, but here we are. We need to have the financial audits done, financial reviews, whatever you're going to call it, at least 2 weeks before your chapter of elections. So just keep that in mind. And we are working on ours. Ours is a little bit more extensive. We'll probably use the same people that did it the last time. And Claudia is going to start reaching out to them just to see about their schedule. So let's go back to the original question. What do we think animate and guide mean? From last night, I heard some words during the homily about, and actually early this week, about some things that we need to do. Everybody brought up some really important aspects of animating and guiding. And I think Ellen summarized it with listen and love. The quote here right now is, quiet down so we are able to hear and tune our hearing to the voice of God. I think that will be a good foundation in order to do some of the other actions that many of you highlighted. I hope we shared examples of how the National Executive Council is focused to further our priorities by animating and guiding our fraternity in various ways. We tried to stress the importance of communications, the importance of the quality of vocations, and those as a means of strengthening our relationships. And the election is coming up, and we'll be looking for members to continue, who will step up, to continue to work with the Holy Spirit to accomplish this work. So come, Holy Spirit, faithful, and kindle in us this fire of your will. And we shall be created, and you shall renew the face of the earth. May St. Francis, St. Clare, St. Louis, St. Elizabeth, and especially today, St. Joseph of Cupertino, pray for us. And through their prayers, may our hearts and minds be open to actions that further these priorities. Just a second.